and welcome to another edition of History in Your Own Backyard. We are in Cincinnati, Ohio at St. Boniface Catholic Church to speak with Father Joe Robinson about this magnificent structure. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Donata.
Thank you very much for meeting with us today. What would you like to tell us, first off, about the history of this church?
Well, I would probably have to start back in the late 1700s. People start moving to this area. It was a suburb of Cincinnati at the time. And by about 1853, I think, they decided that they would like to have their own church. So they built a church, small one. They named it St. Aloysius. And the ethnic mix of Irish and Germans was not always peaceful in those days. And after about 10 years, they decided to build a second church. The reason they gave was because the first church was not big enough. But I imagine that maybe they're interacting with one another. It was not always peaceful either. So they built one for the Irish and one for the Germans. There was a funny story, because when they had to decide who was going to get the one church that they had built, they flipped a coin, and the Irish won. So they just kept St. Aloysius. They renamed it St. Patrick. And the Germans kept fighting over what's the best location for their church. So one of the officials of the archdiocese said, "Why don't you just put the church on a wagon and move it around from place to place every Sunday?" Anyway, they finally settled on a place. It wasn't here. It was a couple blocks away.
So the Irish had their own church, and they named it St. Patrick. Then the Germans had their own church and named it St. Boniface.
Right.
And the original St. Boniface was a couple of blocks away from this site.
Right.
And then when did this church begin building?
It was in the 1920s. It just wasn't big enough. The other one was falling apart.
I see.
And so they had to have a bigger one. So they built this. Monsignor Schwartz was the one who built it.
And tell us about the stained glass windows. Are they from Germany?
They are from Germany. Yeah, there's a company over there that I think is still in business that makes these.
And these are the original stained glass windows.
Yes. The altar behind us we brought from St. Patrick's, when we merged. We merged in 1991, and we wanted the people from St. Patrick's to feel a little bit at home. So we brought a few items like the altar that's standing where we say Mass every day, and the statue of St. Patrick, which is in the back of church, and the statue of St. John Vianney, in case you're wondering who that guy is.
Yes, all right. And how many parishioners do you have now?
Our October count is like about 400 people for Mass on Sundays.
Is the school still operating?
The school is operating. We have just a little over 200 children.
And you have Sisters of Mercy at the school now?
We have 2 Sisters of Mercy, 1 Sister of Franciscan Oldenburg.
Thank you, Father Joe, for visiting with us today. And we thank our viewers for tuning in for another edition of History in Your Own Backyard. We are at St. Boniface Catholic Church in Cincinnati, Ohio, in the neighborhood of Northside. And remember, travel slowly and stop often. See you next time.